Let's get this started again, guys. Sorry for the hiccup. All right, welcome back. I want to say I do apologize, guys. We had some technical issues, but I know you guys should be able to hear me and see me right now. I had to just start everything over and get it in. So I'll wait for you guys to get in. I do apologize that I had to stop abruptly, but I wanted to make sure that y'all get this work because today's topic is a whole telenovela. So no more distractions, no more interruptions. Let's do our brief introduction again. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. I'm here 3 days a week where I am in my kitchen talking about politics, social issues, economic issues now, and we moved on into health. Okay. Thank you for joining us yesterday. And we do this from a non-biased perspective and we use our critical thinking skills here. Highlighting that I'm not a Democrat or Republican, I'm a human being and I support the concept of separatism. I separate from the BS, and I hope you guys do too. So, what we have been talking about is the mayhem that we call Trump in this administration. A couple of weeks ago, we started talking about Trump and Trump China relationships. This was like October 24th. I have the date here. We're gonna put the bottom videos at the bottom. We actually had a playlist as well that we're starting because people really have to understand what's going on so we don't pick the wrong side and not see that they're running a heist on us. I'm just going to keep it real. Something is not right. Okay, so October, we talked about that relationship. We kind of, Putin talked about how Putin explained why he was going into Ukraine. Last week, we talked about the biblical aspect of the Ukraine and Russia debacle and how Trump is trying to play his role some way, looking like the Antichrist coming in to be the middleman for everybody, as well as we moved on on January 7th after kind of talking about those relationships and how crazy it was. Trump went on to capture Maduro. So I'm like, wow, this is a little bit weird. What? This is a sitting president. Now, me being Haitian, I can't say that it's totally out of pocket because they have tried to capture our president, unalive him, and all types of stuff. But what would have been the day that I thought that other countries would have to suffer to what Haiti is suffering? Okay, so they captured Maduro on real time. It was like a big Black Hawk type of mission, this, that, and the third. We went over it. It was too easy, too peasy. You had Maduro doing this, looking AI, and I'm just like, this is just so weird. So we're just keeping our eye on that particular trial, highlighting that it may be some holes in the trial because we know that allegedly Trump went in after Venezuela looking for that cocoa. Okay, he said it was the cocoa powder. They were big drug warlords, yah, blah, blah. Okay. And what he did mistakenly was tie this imaginary gang to Maduro. So what I'm hearing is that because there's no gang like this, is making his lie pretty uncredible as far as the reason for Maduro being locked up, highlighting that they don't move cocoa. Don't move fentanyl, they move cocoa because that's originally what Trump was talking about in the beginning. So now we're moving on down. We're moving on down. If you guys haven't seen no series, go look at it. Very detail orientated, a lot of information in it. So I did another live. We came back on the 19th, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? This is looking a little weird. This is looking a little biblical to me. You know, guys, I'm a Hebrew, so I like the stories of the Bible. I have research all the time, and it's looking like 10 toes, 10 kings to me. The reason why I said that is because the way things went down is like Trump is absorbing Venezuela, okay? And that made me really like, oh, snap. He's absorbing Venezuela, highlighting that Venezuela has these deep, intricate ties with China. So I'm like, oh, snap. This is looking a little crazy now because China's not going to be playing these games. They pretty militant. And we already know that China and Russia has a forbidding relationship, love-hate relationship because of how close their proximity to each other and their alignment because they constantly attacked by the West. Okay, so we got some developments today, and that's why I'm saying this is a whole telenovela, and we need to pay attention and not really totally pick a side because it looks like something is coming together a little bit weird here. All right, so if you haven't saw the last one we did last on the 19th, we went in the biblical aspects, the historical aspects of Israel-Palestine relationship. You know, they cut me off. I had to come back. And then we went into the aspects of Iran being involved in it and China. Okay, so today years old, we're up to par to talk about kind of what position do Russia and China actually play. But we're highlighting China because what I'm a little like surprised that we're hearing Trump wants to invite China to the table. It's a whole lot. That's what I told you. This is a whole telenovela. It's like I'm jumping around, baby, but go look at those other videos and y'all gonna see what we're talking about. So where we left off is Venezuela has their vice president as their president. I think the name is Rodriguez. And they're trying to negotiate with Rodriguez to get some of those 301 million barrels of oil that's sitting there in Venezuela. And Trump is already at the selling block saying, come on in. So let's watch this. We're going to start off with Venezuela, how the people are doing, what are their feelings, their hopes, their dreams. Because again, these people are affected by this. We're talking about it today like it's nothing. But just like me and you are affected by it, they are too. So please hit the like button. Let's go. Thank you for coming here for round two. Hopefully they send our notifications out today.
Bueno, el tema económico. I am concerned about the economic situation because if you don't work, you don't eat. The economic situation
Good
is worrying
morning.
because you work but you don't earn enough money. And the political situation is also something that worries me because with everything that happened, it was a horrible experience. But let's hope that everything improves, that it will be for the best. That's what we want, for everything to be for the best.
Un buen sueldo.
I'd like to have a good salary, good job opportunities, stable prices, and higher wages so that money can go further.
It is very likely that more opportunities will open up, that investors will come to the country, and that we will open up to other companies, because that is the problem. There are no good, stable jobs, and salaries are not as stable as they used to be.
And we kind of talked about why that has happened. We went into how long has America has been pursuing Venezuela destabilization, and that was way before Trump. That was back in 2008 already, when they were already sending CIA in there to, kind of help them again. What we're talking about now, they're having fair elections. It kind of starts from there, and we get into the infrastructure and everything goes crazy. That's a deep dive story. We went into that, but we actually played a role in their destabilization, and it started a long time ago. So I'm pretty like thrilled and astonished at the same time that the Venezuelans don't actually hate us, because that's what I thought. That's why when I was thinking about the concept of sleeping cells, and a lot of Venezuelans came here, I said they probably hate us because we are the foundations of a lot of that country issue. And I'm not saying me and you, but us being a part of the United States of America, this is what we have to say. Our agencies have went in and tried to play a role, and over this since 2016 to now, 2006 all the way to now, that's only 20 years of interference. So with that goes to say, we did highlight who was the three largest unrefined oil reserve holders in the world. And one is Venezuela, two is Saudi Arabia, and three is Iran. Let's keep these countries in mind. So this is definitely a red should set off a red flag of the why he wants to touch this country. But my thing is, why didn't China rebel yet? Because they already came out, like many countries have said, hey, Trump, you broke international treaties. This is not how you handle stuff. You don't go kidnap people. They all talked against them, even up to France. But nobody has done nothing tangible. And I'm saying, why? Now, the last 24 hours after Trump has put sanctions on China, we're going to show you that. This is what happened to China market. And I'm going to make you understand why China has not attacked us and why China is moving the way they're moving. Let's go.
The yen jumped suddenly against the dollar on Friday. Traders were alerted to the prospect of intervention from Tokyo to stop the Japanese currency's slide towards multi-year lows. Others speculated authorities may have run rate checks with banks. A rate check is when it's asked what price it will get if it were to sell yen.
Now,
and it's something Japanese authorities can use to signal their readiness to the market.
Okay, so this is what they did. They did like a test run. And with this test run, it looked like they've been pretty strong in the market.
Japanese Finance Minister Satsuki Katayama declined to respond when asked about talk of rate checks, but he said authorities were, quote, watching Forex with a high degree of urgency. Friday's move wasn't as dramatic as when the Bank of Japan intervened directly in markets in recent years, but it happened suddenly, just as trading in London got underway. It came during a press conference by the Bank of Japan governor after the BOJ held rates steady. Traders have been wary of intervention by Japanese authorities as the yen had approached 160 per dollar. The yen has been under pressure since Sanai Takeichi took over as Japan's prime minister in October. It dropped more than 4% on fiscal concerns and stood near levels that had led to verbal warnings and intervention fears.
So even though they said that it dropped 4%, they did say they did a bank run on the yen. And guess what? It surged briefly because it's something that's making it strong. And we need to figure out what is making it strong. Before we do that, did you guys know this happened before they stole Maduro? And they went in and go bomb Nigeria. This is an article that's brought to us by Axons. I get information from everywhere, guys. We're going to just go over this article real quick, and then we're going to show you why China has the juice right now. Trump embraced great power cooperation with China and Russia. This December 12th, 2025. I was like, is anybody paying attention to this? What is going on? President Trump's first term opened the age of the great power competition with China and Russia. I got to make it animated, guys. If you don't know who I am, my name is Miss Grace. Enjoy the show. We're going to break this down. His second is actively working on ending the competition. Why is it a matter? For the past decade, Washington has operated on a bipartisan censorship with China, seeking to overtake the United States. That's what they say China is doing secretly, allegedly. Russia seeks to undermine it and reinforce alliance with European and Asia is the key win for the 21st century. This is what they're saying is happening. Trump is challenging the entire foundation invasion, envisioning a new world order. Turn this around. Let's turn this around. I ain't saying it. They said that. That's when I think about the 10 Kings theory, because what happened to Maduro, it looks like he got easily absorbed. He came here talking about thumbs up. Like, what the? Look at AI. Okay, moving forward. So, Trump is challenging this entire foundation, envisioning the new world order where great powers cut deals and look the other way when needed, rather than restrain each other's ambitions. Okay, I'm reading the article. Okay, that's what they said. At the end of the Cold War, American foreign policy elites convinced them to permanent American dominance of the entire world was the best interest of the country. And they like, well, that ain't working right now because they doing some other stuff over here. They got a whole market that we don't know about. We gonna talk about that market that we can't even get in. China then created their own trade thing. Now, this is all for information, educational purposes only. I need you guys to go research this. Again, I'm going to leave all the links here at the bottom. This is very important to know because right now, I think they're playing on our mind. Again, so here we go. So instead of them looking at it like, okay, America's going to dominate everything, but that's what he thinks. Trumpsters, mega, supposed to be America first. What happened to the America first? What happened to that? It looks like Trump is business deal first. And now he's changing his angle because he's like, yo, we could just all get together and start cutting up some deals. So after returning to office, Trump kicked off a spiral of the U.S.-China tariff, threatening and export bans before striking a truce with the president Yang in October. And then he went and did this stuff. And I'm saying that's why I'm like, this is weird. As American people, you should look at this and like, what's going on? Didn't they just do a truce with China? Why did you go and still as president that has a relationship with China? And how is China going to react to this? Does that make sense? So lately, Trump has been sounding like the biggest China dove in Washington. And now we're going to tell you why. Let's go back 10 years. Hold on one second. We talked about that. What happened 10 years ago and what they started to notice? Because that's half the time that America was over there in Venezuela and people knows it's like we all are. This is what China was doing 10 years ago. They were hoarding oil, allegedly. Hoarding oil.
May have recovered. The price of oil may have recovered a little bit in the last few weeks, but nowhere near enough to stop the pain for the big producers like Saudi Arabia or for the fracking industry in the US. But there is one clear country winner here, China. And China is buying big. It doesn't get any bigger than this. This is the world's biggest supertanker, the TI Europe, now at anchor in the Straits of Malacca, brimming with millions of barrels of oil destined for China. Beneath these gleaming white decks, about 1.5 meters or so under my feet, is 3 million barrels of oil spread across 21 tanks. The latest shipment arrived just...
Isn't that kind of where Trump has been honing in, allegedly taking Venezuela's oil tankers? And that's why I thought this was going to like turn into World War III real quick, because he sees the oil tanker that Venezuela tried to quickly change the registration and the name of the boat to be Russian. Kind of like me thinking Russia trying to tap in. But they have a lot of these oil tankers out there, which is China's sitting on bank.
3 weeks ago, 950,000 barrels of Algerian oil. But the oil is coming just about everywhere.
Nigerian oil. This is a video from 10 years ago. That's why it's so good to listen and research and kind of, this is what we do. We compare and contrast, just kind of figuring out what's going on. Now, this is what's tying Nigeria in here as well, because they were doing trades with China. So I'm thinking maybe Trump has used Maduro as a proxy to kind of throw a blow at China, Maduro, and Nigeria. Because if Nigeria president allegedly aligned with Trump to do this to his own country, and I'm like, what? Why? Maybe Nigerian president not totally happy with what's going on with China. I don't know yet. We're going to go into that because this is going to be episode. We're going to break this down. But listen closely to what they're saying. These relationships, these strategic relationships. And now you're going to see why things are starting to happen. This ties Nigeria into the storyline.
Biggest supplier, Saudi Arabia, which sees Beijing as a key client after losing some of the US market to frackers. China has now overtaken the US to become the world's biggest oil importer, a first, the world's second biggest economy. Demand is so high, there's not enough space to store it in the country. So the TI Europe and other vessels nearby...
So 10 years ago, they were hoarding it because they couldn't get it sold yet. So then they had to start building strategic relationships They couldn't get it sold because of not only the tariffs and the relationship they had with America, because America holds the petrodollar, but they didn't have the infrastructure to build the relationships that was trustworthy, and they have it now. Let's finish watch this a few more minutes.
Are being turned into floating storage tanks placed between the Gulf of Africa and China. This insatiable demand, say analysts, is being led by a strategic imperative to build up the country's oil reserves.
Most developed countries have around 90 days stock, so if they couldn't import any more crude oil, they have 90 days worth of supply to keep themselves going. China doesn't have anywhere near that level at the moment, so it's developing its own reserves.
Pumping up strategic reserves are critical for this energy-hungry nation, but it's not the only driver of China's oil demand. Even as GDP slows to 7.5% or even less, the new normal, as it's now called, it's still consuming a steady 10 million barrels a day.
10 years ago.
In part by a new love affair with gas-guzzling SUVs. Lower gas prices has seen sales across the country soar by a whopping 48% in the first 3 months of this year.
Okay, so we're going to stop right here because I wanted you guys to get an idea of what kind of was happening 10 years ago, how China was moving. I need you guys to hit the like button too because I had to restart and we're talking about a sensitive issue. I ain't never see somebody coming in with a Chinese name saying something. You're welcome to be here. Come on in. But this is international talk. We're talking from American perspective. You know, we talk about it from a biblical perspective and non-biased. So you're welcome. But that's the first time I ever saw somebody Chinese here. So please hit the like button. Please hit the like button because I'm trying to get myself in the algorithm, and I do believe that something happened. That's why you guys couldn't hear me the first time. Okay. Please, please. Thank you so much. Now, China imports no U.S. oil in August. Now, this is after what we were just talking about. Now, we kind of getting the buildup of what's happening with China in the background. This was 7 years ago. They got to the point where, they had to make some strategic moves because of the sanctions, because America's holding everybody by the balls. And I think they got pretty tired of it. So they came up with some strategic plans. And this is when we had an announcement that they basically wasn't buying oil from us.
Thanks for having me. It's a very interesting development that we are seeing. The Chinese have completely grind their imports to a halt in August. We expect also very low imports of U.S. crude oil into China next month. And rumors has it now that potentially October will be a resuming month for China to go back to U.S. for crude oil imports.
Last year, we know that Chinese imports accounted for 23% of total U.S. crude exports. Why have we seen the imports into China fall off so dramatically?
Be quiet.
I think what we're seeing right now is increased trade tensions. You mentioned yourself, the IMF have just downgraded global economic activity for 2018 and 2019 to 3.7%. That is not good for global economy, and that's not good for trade and shipping in itself. I think China is flexing their muscles right now, and they do have alternatives for the U.S. crude oil characteristics. So they turn increasingly to West Africa to solve.
You're listening? This was 7 years ago. Let's listen closely.
Oh, so there are other suppliers for oil does that mean that U.S. could get replaced entirely?
What we have seen from West Africa over the past, say, 3 years has been that the U.S. have basically seized their imports from Western Africa. They have sought new destinations for their crude oil exports, and they found plenty of homes for it in the Asian regions. What we've seen right now.
Okay, so what you hear here is that America tried to cut off the black nations. You already know. Haiti, we've been cut off. So they've been trying to cut off the African nations and bypassing some ways of real contracts by coming in third party, through companies. But instead of Africa letting their natural resources sit, they open their market up to other nations. So basically our tyranny, our behavior in America kind of force these people to align with each other. So this was 7 years ago, where China popped out like, man, I'm not going to use your oil. I want your oil, America. And it kind of made the market like, what, what's going on? Like, okay, this is a little weird. Then we're going to get to 3 years ago, because now we're going to see where the China is calling for oil to be traded in yen in the Middle East. This is all the stuff that we missed. Let's go. Let's go. Please hit the like button. I hope you guys are doing safe. We're going to be safe this weekend in the middle of this winter vortex that's going to be coming across America, guys. I'll be here with you guys, and if we could stream and talk about it, we'll be doing it all weekend. Let's go. If I don't got to go to work. So this particular call, what they're saying is the move will support Beijing goals to establish its currency international and weaken the U.S. dollar grip on the world trade. This was 3 years ago. Saudi Arabia, and now, oh, don't he look familiar? Wait a minute. Hold the door. Y'all remember this man was sitting inside the White House next to Trump out of nowhere, and we was like, I don't know if you was, but I was like, what the heck? Why are you gonna bring that man here? These people a little wicked, allegedly. His wife and his daughter even ran away from him. Okay, and he allegedly supposed to be responsible. What made me look into that is because he was supposed to be responsible for this reporter allegedly being alive in the embassy. And Trump addressed that live in front of everybody because they asked him about it. Like, basically, they was like, "Why are you bringing this killer gangster up in the White House?" And they like, Trump like, "No, he's not. That's never been proven." Saudi Arabia. Okay, you see where it's tying in? He just popped up in the scene out of nowhere in the White House, like, yeah, I'm up in here. People prior to other administrations knew not to touch this guy allegedly because of his behavior. Like, it's a little bit, we're not going to get into it right now. That's a whole nother live. I pray the princess and his wife is okay, because they was trying to run for their lives. I watched that. I was praying for her, praying for the lady. All right. So let's get to it, guys. And what I ask you guys, let's have some critical thinking skills. Let's stay on the topic and not be children here. Now, as we move through this telenovela, so we can highlight why America actually kidnapped Maduro. And I believe it's because they were being locked out of the oil market. And Trump knew was nothing he can do but start to wage this type of crazy war. Russia, Iran, and China are pushing oil prices down across the world. Trump didn't like that. That's why he said, as soon as he got the oil from Venezuela, the gas price is down, America, da, da, da. He wants to be the one to say that. Let's watch this short Inside China Business. We look at things from all over. This is another commentary, someone who does commentary. It's not a real news broadcast, but he does have some key things that he highlighted that I think we should hear about how things have been going for China in the market over the last couple of years.
Was when Western countries put sanctions on the exports of Russian energy. The conventional wisdom at the time was that these prices would stay high. This forecast is from June 2022, and it is typical of what mainstream economists and policymakers and investment banks believe. Barclays is a London bank, and they forecast far higher levels for crude oil going forward. Brent is the European benchmark for crude oil, and their prediction was for $111 per barrel for 2022 and 2023. That did not happen. Crude prices have not gotten even close to $100 since 2022. Just a steady ride down.
You know why?
Those lower prices are impacted.
They're impacted by all that reserve that China has. So basically, it's just like the person who owned Bitcoin, the most Bitcoin, they control the market. If they wanted to cash all that in right quick or sell it at a low price, they'll literally crash the market. And I think that's what was not about to happen, but they didn't like the power that China had.
In the American economy in some weird ways. Politicians lose elections if gasoline prices go up, but if oil prices go down, then oil drillers don't bother looking for more supplies. Falling prices means that oil companies are shutting down oil rigs.
Hold on 1 second, guys. We had a little commercial break. As I tell you, this is a regular content creator. And remember, us as Americans, I just got to highlight that by us absorbing again Venezuela and the issues that they have with their infrastructure and actually refining the oil is going to cost us a whole lot of money. But let's just listen to him as he talk about the oil refinery rigs.
In over 4 years, revenue per barrel is falling, so American operators are taking the money and buying back stock or paying down debt. U.S. drillers need oil prices of at least $60 a barrel to drill new wells. Then most formations, the price needs to be at least $70.
Now listen to what he said. Okay, these investors that come into these markets, just listening to this, and especially American investors, they take their profits and pay off bills and buy more stocks. So that makes me reflect back to the first clip where we showed where the Venezuelans are pretty concerned about, their job market, how things are going to increase, who's going to invest into them. It looked like everybody, as far as us, the have-nots, what they think we are going to have a low into these type of maneuvers that they're doing. Let's make it make sense. Let's go.
What's more, oil companies must expect that those high prices will last a long time. Otherwise, they won't get their initial investments back. Russia, Iran, and China are the 3 reasons why all the smart people were wrong about oil prices. In the case of Russia, the sanctions simply redirected their energy exports away from the European Union and toward everybody else. This chart shows Russian exports by region from 2021 to 2024. 2021 was the full year before the war in Ukraine and the sanctions, and Russian oil exports were just under 8 million barrels per day. In 2024, Russian oil exports were 7.5 million barrels.
I wish he'd show us the color chart of which one was which.
They won that. But this is one reason everyone got everything wrong. Light blue, bottom bar, is Russian crude exports to the European Union. 3.5 million barrels per day to 400,000. And analysts assume that Russia's economy would slow dramatically or collapse completely when all that European demand went away. But all it did was move. China is in dark green, and Chinese exports of Russian crude did increase. India is in yellow, and India went from almost nothing at all in 2021 to 1.9 million barrels a day.
And I'm gonna listen to this. Listen to the India, because this telenovela is going to get into India. This gets crazy, y'all. India looks like an underdog that was sitting there ready to bark. Okay, let's go.
Turkey increased their exports by over 4 times. Same for Africa in purple, up 4 times in 4 years. When we break out the Russian export data by country, we can see what happened. These are Russian fossil fuel exports of all kinds over a 3-year period from the date of the EU sanctions through the end of May. The European Union continues to be the top buyers of Russian natural gas, both liquefied and pipeline. But Europe dropped to number 3 on crude oil, and for oil products, don't show up at all. Who are all these countries who are now buying the Russian energy? The BRICS countries. And how are they doing all that trade if Russia's been frozen out of SWIFT and Western banking systems?
Oh, snap. Okay, guys, do y'all remember a couple of years ago they had this big old issue out there in Europe when they was moving away from the BRICS and they was revamping it? I'm like, yo, they about to crash the economy because Boris Johnson, is that his name? Oh, I remember, because that's when I was getting to the finance a lot. He was a Trump. He was like the EU Trump. And I was like, oh man. But People weren't paying attention that they were reallocating or trying to revamp the structure of the money related to this, because under this new brick system that they're trying to use, we're going to break it down to you, it connects it to tangible gold. Hold up. This is, y'all, this is for the people who have a higher level of thinking. I don't think Mega will really understand this, guys, but we just still going to keep teaching today, because this is looking like a telenovela for real for the elites, and we ain't part of the game. 10 Kings theory.
They built their own system. Here's a handy timeline. In late 2022, price caps on Russian energy, they were redundant because prices were falling anyway. Then came the sanctions against tanker companies that were shipping the Russian oil. None of it mattered. These data are from 2015 and show the cost of oil production by country. Again, this is all 10 years old and the costs are higher now.
And look at that. This was UK. Brick.
Especially in US dollar terms. But there's Russia near the bottom at 1720. American oil companies won't dig new holes unless prices are north of 60, but the Russians can make money at much lower prices. And so Russia has become
now, this is the cost. This is not how much they hold. This is just basically the cost index. So we're going to stop right here, and I'm going to let you guys go look at his video. This guy, that's what I told y'all sometimes just need to be diverse with where you get information from. Don't be biased. They may not look the way you want them to look or sound the way you want them to sound, but if you give people opportunity, you're going to get information. And I learned that from nursing school. I had some teachers that couldn't even speak English properly, but they understood that book. They understood if they were specialists in respiratory. Who was it? Neuro? Oh my God. I had a neuro teacher that made us do, he was Indian. His name was, y'all know, Patel. They all got that name. And he made us do oral neuro exams, baby. And even if he couldn't pronounce the words, we had to. He made us thorough. So y'all, please don't let your discrimination blind you from that work, okay? So let's move on. China right now, this is kind of moving right now to their response again to Trump kidnapping Maduro. This is China rejecting the sanctions that came on after that incident. So China rejects oil, U.S. oil sanctions that Trump tries to put on Russia and them, but more on Russia, and thinks that that's going to affect them. This was 3 months ago. Hold on, this one was 3 months ago, but we're going to talk about the new sanctions because they got more sanctions right now that they're responding to. This was 3 months ago.
The statement came quietly but carried unmistakable weight. In Beijing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs convened its regular press briefing, where spokesperson Guo Jiakun was asked about the latest wave of US sanctions targeting Russia's oil sector. His response was clear, calm, and deliberate. The kind of phrasing that diplomats use when they intend to send a firm message without raising their voice. China consistently opposes unilateral sanctions that are not based on international law and are not authorized by the United Nations Security Council, Guo said. Behind that sentence lies an increasingly tense global standoff. Washington's new restrictions are aimed at further isolating Moscow's energy exports, the financial lifeline that keeps Russia's war effort in Ukraine running. The US Treasury has expanded its blacklist of tankers, brokers, and shipping networks that help move Russian crude around the world.
This was 3 months ago, before Trump totally went on his rampage, right at the beginning of the time where he was going after the drug lords. This is when I started talking about, oh snap, I think around October, I said Trump is attacking Venezuela in the Great Sea. This is the same time that he tried to put sanctions on Russia to put more pressure on China. Okay, please hit the like button. You guys, you know what I feel like? I feel like I'm iSpeed right now. I do. I feel like I'm iSpeed right now because every time I put my face on the camera, I lose people off the screen. And he said that. He was like, oh my God, it's so funny. And I think I'm going to have to start my live in a few minutes. I got it look like my phone is dying after all of the trouble that I've been going through. But every time I get on, people jump off the live. And iSpeed said that I was cracking up because he was like trying to get to 5 million or something like that. and he'll go out the room and people will come in. As soon as he come in, they see his black face, they jump off. That's what y'all doing to me? I told y'all the hate is real, but guess what? I'm gonna laugh at y'all just like I speed. Let's keep it going here because we got that work here. I just noticed, I was like, dang, every time I show my black face, the numbers go down. What y'all, I got the wrong crowd here today? All right, so this is what we're gonna do. I think we're about 40 minutes into this live. I have a lot more to show you guys. This going to have to be a part 2 real quick because I have to actually charge my phone. But if you don't know where we're at right now, we are exposing the fact that the kidnapping of Maduro was possibly or definitely or allegedly linked to trying to get back into good graces with China, get into this new trade mechanisms that they have in China that we are locked out of, and to get hold of all of those 3 million barrels, big reserve that Venezuela had, highlighting that Venezuela, Iran, and Saudi Arabia has been tariff blackballed from America, petrodollar, and trading via sanctions. They have created their own. So what I'm going to do, we're going to take a break right back. I'll be right here. We're going to come back in about an hour or so. Give me about an hour. Let the algorithm start over. I still have a whole lot to show you. This is just the beginning right now. So we're looking at what happened 3 months ago, which you just saw, how the Chinese, Ambassador Jung Hoon, I do apologize, no disrespect, China, respond to the actual sanctions that Trump tries to put on Russia, which has never really been hurting them because they have been working around the system. So in part 2, what we're going to show you is exactly how they've been working around the system. We're going to talk about the mechanisms, the actions that China is actually using to trade and contract oil, which is called the gold quota. If I'm saying it wrong, we'll have it correct. It's a mechanism designed for the BRICS country, again, BRICS country and other partners to bypass Western dollar dependence and financial infrastructure. Let's get it. So I'm going to see y'all in about an hour. I know y'all don't got much to do. A lot of y'all getting ready for the snow. I want you guys to go out there and go get y'all salt. That's what I'm about to do while I let everything charge up. We're going to continue with part 2 today of this telenovela because there's a whole lot to divulge to you. We have India. We have France coming in, talking right now. And we got France coming in thinking they the big dog. All right. So with that goes to say thank you for being here. Please hit the like button. I'm going to see you guys in about an hour. Please be safe on the road. Let's go.